Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cook the Book, where we are cooking recipes from my brand new cookbook, Treat Yourself Healthy. If you haven't got your copy yet, it is now available to be delivered. So a lot of copies, hundreds and thousands of copies have gone out in the last week of everyone who's pre-ordered their copy of Treat Yourself Healthy. You can get your copy too, but you can also join us here every single week where we cook a recipe out of the book. Today's recipe was inspired from a New Zealand style cookie. For some of you who don't know, I am a Kiwi, I am from New Zealand, and there is this cookie in New Zealand. It's known as cookie time. And for any Kiwi, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The cookie's about this big, so it's about the size of your head, about that big, full of chocolate chips. And of course I got to thinking, because my kids love this cookie, surely I can make a healthy version, and I have. So the cookie that I'm creating is this big, but it has no sugar, it has no gluten, and it has no grain, and there's a dairy-free option as well, which is pretty amazing. So I did include it in the book because why wouldn't I? It's so amazingly delicious. It is on page 28, so it's in the very first chapter, and I just want to show you the photo. It's very, very cool. There's a hand in this photo that maybe for some of you may be a little bit familiar. So that's how big the cookie is. Isn't that crazy? It is absolutely huge, and I make absolutely no contention here that I was creating this cookie as a healthy version to the cookie time one. So it's a lovely big cookie full of chocolate chips, and of course gluten-free, sugar-free, dairy-free option as well. So let's get into the recipe. It is pretty easy to make. I don't have a lot of ingredients, as you probably have noticed. So the first thing we do, grab yourself up a bowl. We're going to be adding in, by the way, this recipe I'm giving you makes 2 huge cookies. So this is enough for 2 huge cookies. So in my little bowl here, I have some coconut oil, 2 tablespoons, and it's soft. It's not melted, it's just soft. So you want to start off with that. Definitely don't want a melted version, just a lovely soft version. Into here as well, as I'm going to add, what I have here is actually avocado oil, which is a wonderful monounsaturated fat. So it's really good for your heart health, really good for your brain health. And these 2 fats combined, or these two coconut oil and the avocado oil, are really good healthy fats to include in your diet. So we're going to add into here 1 tablespoon of our avocado oil from New Zealand as well. As well as that, I'm going to add just a little bit of zero. So this is the sweetness factor in our cookies. And I'm just going to add 2 tablespoons of our zero as sugar, because of course that's going to help with the sweetness. But our zero sugar, as you guys know, has no calories. It has 0 effect on the glycemic index response, so it won't spike your blood glucose or raise your insulin levels. And it has 0 laxative effect, which is always nice as well. So we're going to put the 0 in there, and then I'm going to take up my little machine here, which is my little attached whisk, and give it a bit of a mix. I'm already looking at it going, is this wise? I'm going to turn the volume. I'm going to turn the speed down just to begin with. And what we're trying to create here is that creaming sensation you would normally make from butter and sugar. Well, we're doing it using, of course, look at that, it's going green, using avocado oil. By the way, if you don't have avocado oil, you could also use olive oil here. And in the recipe in the book, I do give you a recipe where you could use coconut oil, or you could use grass-fed ghee as well if you wanted to add a little bit of butter, but you can also go completely dairy-free. So give it a really good blend, but I'm just being gentle here with my whisk and breaking up the coconut just a little bit. It's feeling good now. And by the way, if you're wondering, does avocado oil taste like avocados on its own? It does, but when you actually put it into your baking, you can't even register that it's in there. But of course, that does mean that you have these wonderful monounsaturated qualities. There we go, looking good. You can do this by hand, just with a whisk, of course, if you want to. But this does make it nice and easy. Alright, so once you've got everything well combined, look at that, not even turned on, well combined, And the idea of this, what we're actually doing is we're dissolving the zero sugar. So that's why we do need to do this for a little bit of time. And it's literally the most time-consuming part of this whole entire recipe is actually doing this. But I'm pretty happy with that now. Coco, do you think you could run and get me a wooden spoon? I just realised I don't have one. Thank goodness Coco is here. Coco to the rescue. Alright, so once you're at this point here, and you no longer need your whisk, give it a little bit of a stir, and what I'm just kind of trying to feel here is that that sugar has, well, zero sugar, it has indeed dissolved for us, and it does feel pretty good. Like, this used to be my favourite part of baking when I was growing up as a little kid. I loved creaming the butter and the sugar. It was honestly, thank you Coco. Ooh, thank you. It was honestly my favourite part. I loved the taste, I loved the smell as the butter started to really get in there with the sugar. And I decided, I think, after one of the first times I ever creamed the butter and sugar, I decided that I wanted to be a chef. Because I was like, man, chefs get to do this every single day, that's so cool. So once you're at this point that we have this lovely combination of our healthy fats and our zero as sugar, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to crack in an egg. You just need one large egg for that, ideally at room temperature. In fact, when you bake, it is a really good idea that your eggs are at room temperature. They just help to, you know, to be able to get into the mixture properly and more evenly. And also it means that, you know, if you are like making a meringue or a pavlova, you really have to have room temperature eggs in order to make that, because otherwise the whites won't hold, they won't puff up as much as if you were having cold ones. So I always like to have room temperature eggs whenever I'm baking, so that goes in. Let's now think about some of our dry ingredients. I have 100 grams here of almond flour, which is 3.5 ounces. You could use almond meal, or you could use another nut or seed flour of your choosing. I will leave that up to you. And you can see just with that bit of almond flour, it's really starting to come together now and actually start to look a little bit more like a cookie. Let's add a little bit of flavour. We're nearly there, there's not many ingredients. I am adding here, this is actually vanilla powder. So it is powdered vanilla bean. If you can find vanilla powder, this stuff is awesome, but of course you could also use pure vanilla essence as well. So my vanilla powder, 1 teaspoon of powder or essence. And that's a pure, make sure you go for a pure essence or a pure extract, I should say. We're going to mix that through. The colour is coming along really, really nicely. We're also going to add just a little bit of baking soda. Now the baking soda is here to give it a little bit of a rise, not too much. You don't need it to puff up like a big, you know, like a cake. But the other reason why I'm adding in some baking soda or bicarb soda, half a teaspoon, is it's really going to help the colour to kind of create such a lovely caramelized colour when our cookie's baking as well. So I'm just tapping it just to make sure we don't have any lumps. And we just give that a bit of a stir through. All right, last ingredient. And of course, if we're making the ultimate chocolate chip cookie, it has to be chocolate chips, right? Absolutely. So in my little jar here, I have some sugar-free, gluten-free, dairy-free dark chocolate. And this you can, if you already have a source of where you can buy this, congratulations. If not, check your local supermarket. They do have sugar-free dark chocolate. Some of them have them for baking, but I actually would suggest that you might even want to go online and have a look and buy your dark sugar-free, gluten-free chocolate online as well. So I've got them in leaves. They're a little bit big, so I'm just gonna chop them down, but I actually don't want to make them too small. One of the things that I really love, and our kids used to really love about those cookies from New Zealand, Cookie Time cookies, is that the chocolate chunks are really decent size. So don't go crazy here when you're adding your chocolate. And you need to add sort of 3 to 4 tablespoons of chopped chocolate chunks Even the chunks are even better than chips. Because as I was saying, you get, when you bite into the cookie, you get a really, really big piece of chocolate coming out of it. So happy with that. Put those down there. Give them a bit of a mix. And this is it. This is all done. Apart from, I think I'll just add a pinch of salt. Pretty sure that's in the, yep, that's in the recipe. Pinch of salt goes in, mineral salt of course. And our mixture is ready to go. It is that simple. Now, in order for you to get really decent sized cookies, we have to consider how the size we're actually going to make these cookies. So I've got a few things to show you that might actually assist you when it comes to molding these cookies. So you could consider actually making them in a pie tin, because that's going to give you a really good shape. You could even make them in a flan. You could make them in a really good, really big muffin. These are Texas sized muffin cases. You could probably get maybe 3 or 4 cookies out of that one. Because what I actually like to do is I've got these really cool little oven proof mini frying pans. I know, crazy, right? But they do make really decent sized cookies. And in fact, the cookie picture in the book, I use these lovely big molds to bake the cookies. So I've got my oven set on 170 degrees, which is 340 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to just evenly distribute the cookie dough into here, just like that. Good sized cookies, remember this, really good sized cookies. And then once you've sort of got them into that sort of a shape, it's just a matter of kind of just flattening them, just with your clean hands, of course, just flatten them a little bit. They're going to spread out. So that's why I like to do them in molds, because if I'm doing them in molds, I'm making sure that when they do spread, they're still contained quite a decent amount, which really does give us that really good shape. So just flatten them down just a little bit, remembering that they will spread as they are cooking. And of course, you could make them a little bit smaller if you wanted to, but I'm going for the ultimate chocolate chip cookie, so I'm making mine lovely and big. So off to the oven we go. These are going to be baking for about 18 to 20 minutes, but of course, keep an eye on them. Off we go. So after 20 minutes in the oven, you will be rewarded with the most gorgeous cookies you could possibly imagine. I mean, there is a reason why I call them the ultimate chocolate chip cookie. Firstly, look at the size of that and those wonderful big chunks of chocolate that you can see in there as well. And they have spread out. Remember, we started quite, tight there, and they have spread a little bit. So if you are baking these on a cookie sheet, which you absolutely can do, just leave space in between, because you will get a little bit of a spread. Not too much, but you'll get a little bit of a spread. And rewarding, I think so. These cookies are just fabulous, and ideally right now is that you leave them to cool down for about 10 minutes inside of, if you've cooked them in little molds or on the tray, but put them onto a wire rack because it'll help to cool them down quicker. And then of course, once they are completely cooled down, you can remove them and you can eat away into your cookie and just seriously enjoy what you have here. Now, I actually like to leave my cookies in the fridge because then they get a little bit chewy and cold. I really like that. But of course, if you want to, you can just store these in a sealed airtight container. They'll last for a couple of days, but they'll last even longer if you do pop them in the fridge. But if you do put them in the fridge, hide them. Like, don't put them in a clear container because they will disappear. So this recipe, absolutely fabulous. If you want to make it for school, just swap out the nut flour for a seed flour. Like, you could do them with a little bit of sunflower seeds, of course, is a nice little seed flour. So you can actually create them for school lunches as well. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Cook the Book, where we of course are cooking our our way through my brand new cookbook, Treat Yourself Healthy, which is available now to be delivered out to you. treatyourselfhealthy.net. Just go there and you can order your copy of the book. And to everyone who has sent me messages to tell me how much they're loving this book and how they just can't even decide where to start. There's over 200 recipes, so this really is the master guide to healthy baking. If you want to bake gluten-free, sugar-free and dairy-free, this is the master guide. You have it here now, over 200 recipes. I can't wait to cook more recipes here with you guys on Cook the Book. Until next time, thank you for joining me. Be well, be safe, and we'll see you all soon. Bye.